Yeah, Dave from cheapbooks.com playing World of Tanks. This video is about personal reserves, and I'm going to explain what they are, how to get them, and how to use them. Personal reserves are bonuses that you get in game that are applied to battles over a certain time period. The bonus can be for experience, it can be for crew experience, it can be for free EXP, and it can be for extra credits, which are silver credits per battle. And there's a certain time period. They'll be good for 1 hour, 2 hours, or 4 hours in general. And there may have been others. There's different sizes. They have size 1, 2, and 3, small, medium, and large. But you should really ignore that. The small, medium, and large really is not very useful. What's important more so is the amount of time that they last for. Okay, so there's different ways to get personal reserves. One is that you can earn it by completing a mission. You can go here to the tab for earning, and it will explain to you all the personal reserves that you can earn and what mission you have to play in order to win the personal reserve. And a lot of them are easy to get. In fact, if you use personal reserves for 1 hour, you will probably win a mission to earn back the personal reserves that you spent. So it's an ongoing thing. Once you get it going, you'll constantly be winning back personal reserves. So don't worry too much about using them. As you can see, I have 378 personal reserves. And the reason why is because I've been accumulating them, and I always play with personal reserves. It's rare that I don't play with personal reserves. So earning them is one aspect to the personal reserve. The other thing you can do is you can purchase personal reserves. Here's an example. Oh, they don't have any for sale today. Okay, so it looks like today there's none that are for sale. But the cost of purchasing personal reserves is actually very cheap. They tend to be about 50 gold or 100 gold. And they might be different on the EU server and the RU server and the NA server. On the NA server, they tend to only sell them for EXP and crew EXP. And I think they're worth it. I would absolutely buy them. So look at that list. If you have a little bit of gold, if you want to buy some, that's another place that you would look. Now, the other option is you have the premium shop, and you can go and there will be a bundle for personal reserves, and it's not every day. So it might be a month-long offer or a week-long offer. I tend to see them more in the North American store. In the EU store, I don't see them very often. But what it will be is you pay $50 and maybe you get 20 personal reserves, or they might have a smaller bundle, etc. I used to buy them. I thought it was a good deal because it lets you advance your crew very quickly or get through a tough grind with a tank or earn a few extra credits. However, once I started learning how to accumulate personal reserves, I don't buy them anymore. It's rare that I buy them. Okay, the other thing that you can do is you can win them with something called a marathon mission. And a marathon mission is going to be under your missions tab. It's a lot more difficult to understand the missions tab. It used to be very simple and easy to understand. Now it's a lot more difficult. As you can see with this one, the 121 on track, you can win these 2 personal reserves, which is additional credits per battle. So if you want to complete the 121 on track, you would go and you would do the 121 on track mission, and you would win that personal reserve. So if you look through here, you might see more. Here's another one. It says getting your crew on track. Okay, that's not a personal reserve. But you'll see through here, you'll see missions that, actually these are events, okay. So here's some missions. Over here we have some personal reserves, and there's more. But then there's going to be something called a marathon. And a marathon will be a month long, and the prize is usually very big. One of the first ones that I did was a soccer marathon where you had to do something like score 300 goals or some crazy amount like that. I don't remember what it was. And you win 50 personal reserves. So by doing that, I accumulated a large supply of personal reserves. And there was another one which was get the highest average EXP in any tank 5 games in a row. Because I have 120 tanks, I won a ton of personal reserves. I won hundreds of them. You'd win 10 or 15 per tank, And in some of them, I was one of the top 5 players, so I won really nice personal reserves. And then at Christmas time or some other holidays, they might have specials where you can win personal reserves. So you'll see certain months, which might be in the summertime and Christmas time, where they have a month-long mission where you can win 20 or 30 personal reserves. And that's what I was able to do to accumulate a large number of them. Another way you can get personal reserves is by buying a tank that is bundled with personal reserves. So as you can see over here, we have discounts on various tanks. These are not premium tanks, but when you go to the store, there will be offers where it says, okay, if you buy this tank, it comes with 10 personal reserves. And I never buy them. I don't think it's worth it because obviously I have a lot. But the first time you start to accumulate personal reserves, you might want to consider buying it. But you're going to find it on the website, and you probably will not find it in the in-game store. So check on the website for information on tanks that are bundled with personal reserves. Okay, so that's how to get personal reserves. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about what they are. From over here in the upper left, you'll see that it says 99 plus, and there's a plus time. When they are active, it's going to say how much time is left for the next reserve to expire. So if you have one for 1 hour and another one for 2 hours, it's going to say 1 hour is left. And then when that runs out, it's going to give you the remaining time for the 2-hour personal reserve. So you come over here and you'll see that there's 3 slots because you can only have a maximum of 3 personal reserves active, and they have to be 3 different types. You can't have 2 Crew EXP personal reserves at the same time. You have a choice between EXP, Crew EXP, free EXP, and credits, and you can choose 3 out of those 4, no 2 of the same. What you probably want to do is do the same length of time. So for example, if this one is for 1 hour and that one is for 2 hours, if you choose to activate it, pick the length of time that you want to play, and then for each type, do the same amount of time. So I might do 1 hour for EXP, 1 hour for Crew EXP, 1 hour for free EXP. You can mix and match, but what will happen is if you mix and match, if you do, let's say, a 2-hour EXP and a 1-hour Crew EXP, when the Crew EXP runs out, you might not notice. You have to be aware of what's going on. If you're not aware of what's going on, you might go through the final hour with only 1 personal reserves active instead of 2 when you could have activated another. So you have to be careful. And you might have a little bit of an imbalance. Like you might have one with 60 minutes left and another one with only 45 minutes left. And then you have a little gap of 15 minutes that isn't being used most efficiently. Okay, so I already spoke about how the size 1, 2, or 3 is not very useful. You really want to manage it based on the number of hours, which is usually 1, 2, or 4, and there might be more. And again, learn to pay attention to the upper left as to how much time is remaining, and check on it once in a while. After each game, you can go and check on it and see each individual one with how much time is left. So get used to doing that. The other thing is, sometimes you might have 1 minute left. And if you start a game, if the personal reserve expires before the game starts, you do not get it. However, if the game starts before that minute expires, you do get it applied to that game. So if you only have a minute left and you want to take advantage of the final minute, get into another game as quickly as possible. Now, another question that people often ask is when you have personal reserves, they want to know if it's multiplied or if it's added. For example, if you get a 5 times bonus or a 2 times bonus or a 3 times bonus, do they add in or do they multiply? It's all additive. In every bonus I've ever seen in World of Tanks, everything is additive. It's never multiplied. So if it says, oh, there's a 1.3 multiplier, it's not 1.3 of the daily double. It's 1.3 of the base EXP. Everything is done based on the base value of one value of base EXP. So if you have a personal reserve for 200%, that means 2 times base EXP. I'm sorry, it actually would, if it were 200%, it would mean 3 times base EXP because you're adding 200%. If it's 100%, that means you're adding 100% to the original 100%. that's a 2 times. If it says 50%, that's like a 1.5 modifier. It is kind of confusing. It's all additive. However, you might want to, as a strategy, I usually wait until I have a 5 times or 3 times bonus. It doesn't really help. You're not going to get more out of the personal reserves. But what you're going to do is when you get the 5 times bonus, you're probably going to try a little bit harder to get a good score. And as long as you're trying to get a good score, you want to play your best with all the bonuses you can get at the same time. And the reason why I know this is because I did charts where I wrote down all my EXP for all of my tanks, and I tracked like 100 different games, and I reverse engineered the formula for adding in all these values, and I found that it's additive, not multiplied. There is hidden multipliers with premium tanks, so some tanks, like a tier 4 tank, might get the same bonus as a tier 8 tank. That can happen. Okay, now the best advantage you're going to get are with premium vehicles. Premium vehicles have bonuses for EXP, for crew EXP, for free EXP, and for credits. So if you get a 50% bonus from having a premium tank, you're going to get that 50% bonus on your base EXP, and you're going to get that 50% bonus on your personal reserves. Excuse me. So there is an additional 50% bonus for premium tanks, and the hidden modifier on some tanks like the Tehran, you'll also get another hidden bonus. So definitely, when I use personal reserves, I use the free EXP, the credits, and the crew EXP for premium tanks, and I use the regular EXP only for tanks that I'm grinding. Okay, so you want to use it with premium tanks. You want to use it with higher tier tanks. For example, if you use a tier 10 tank and you get 1,000 EXP and you get 100% with personal reserves, you're going to get another 1,000. But if you're playing a tier 2 tank and you get 300 EXP, you might only get another 300. So you get a better bonus with higher tiers, especially for credits and free EXP, which are not tank specific. They're independent. The EXP is applied to your tank, and the crew EXP is applied to your crew. The free EXP you can apply to any tank, and credits you can apply to any tank. They're independent, so try to use the free EXP and the credits on your highest tier tanks. What I do is I only play high tier tanks with my personal reserves. And with the lower tiers, if I've got like a massive, I've got 378 personal reserves. So I'll still use it with the lower tiers, but I'll be a lot more selective. With my lower tier tanks, I'll use perhaps the 50% personal reserve, and with the higher tier tanks, I'll use the 300% personal reserves. So save your larger bonuses for your higher tier tanks and for your premium tanks. There's also something called a reward tank, which has some bonuses, but it's not the same as a premium tank, so that you might want to also consider doing it. If you have premium tanks and for example, I have 5 or 6 German tank destroyers. I'm going to show you. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to click on Germany and click on tank destroyers. You can see here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 premium tank destroyers. The lowest one is a tier 5 and the highest is a tier 8. When I use my personal reserves with the largest bonuses, I'm going to use the tier 8 premium tanks for things like crew training, for example, but I'm not going to do it with the tier 5. So I'm going to get larger bonuses on my personal reserves for crew training if I use it on a higher tier premium tank. And it's the same crew. And also, you'll notice that the Jagdtiger has 6 crew members. Let's take a look at the Stug 4 only has 4 crew members. So when you use it with a Jagdtiger, I'm training 2 additional crew members. It's not divided, it's shared. So if one guy gets 1,000, they all get 1,000. So use it with your tanks that have the most crew. Now you might have a question, what if I don't have crew EXP, but I still want to train my crew? Can I use a normal EXP personal reserve to train crew on a premium tank? The answer is yes, you can. Obviously, you want to prefer to use your crew at EXP, but you can use the regular EXP on a premium tank and a bonus on your crew EXP. The other thing you're going to notice about personal reserves is it says does not expire. When they first announced it, which was perhaps a year ago, 2016 I believe, they used to expire after a month or two. But after the first rollout, they stopped doing that, and now everything that I've seen since then does not expire. Excuse me. You'll notice in this case I have 192 personal reserves for 100% additional experience per battle for 1 hour. That's actually really good. You'll notice something else. It says plus 50% experience for 2 hours, plus 100% for 1 hour. Is it the same? I don't know. I didn't work the numbers out. But you might sit there and say, well, it looks like you're going to get the same bonus. It's just that one is in 1 hour and the other one is in 2 hours. Because you're getting the 50% for an extra hour, it should make up for the difference. Even though that's true, I always run the 100% with my best tanks and the 50% with the tanks that aren't so good. Now, in using personal reserves, I'm going to show you some of the benefits. I'm going to pull out my Foch, which is right here. Tier 9. Not every game was done with personal reserves. I'd say 95% of the time. So I'm going to look at my service record. And we're going to look at vehicles. We're going to look at Tier 9. And we're going to look up that Foch. Tier 9 Foch. I did 76 battles. Actually pretty good. 59% win rate. 756 EXP. Average. Okay, now the question is, how much total EXP do you think I would have? Let's look at my Foch over here. You'll see I have 152,808, and I researched the engine. The engine cost me 25,000, so that was 177,808 in 76 games. I'm going to pull up my calculator. That's 177,123 divided by 76. That means I averaged 2,328 EXP per game. Now I'm going to divide it by the 756. It's a factor of 3. Now I'm going to explain what all of this means, and I hope that everything is showing properly. I played 76 games with this tank. I used personal reserves in almost every game. I got average 756 EXP. Most of the games I did not get the daily double or the triple because I did it all in 2 days, so I only got one daily double. Even though I got 756 average EXP, because of the personal reserves, I was credited for 2,328. I got 3 times as many as I would have if I hadn't used personal reserves, because I use the best that I have. I was probably using the 200%, sometimes the 300%, sometimes the 100%. And so you got the 756 plus 756 plus 756. I got the base 756 plus the 2 extras. And because I run a premium account, I got the bonus from whatever the premium account is, which is, I believe, 50% factored in there. So that is mostly from having the premium account and from using personal reserves, which means that I can get to the next tank in a third of the time. I got to get 290,000 to get the Foch 155. I'm more than halfway there. So using personal reserves, I was able to cut it down by between 50 and 66%. That's how much savings in the number of games I have to play to level up. That's why personal reserves are very valuable. And I also used it for my crew. You can see, my crew is okay, but they're not the greatest crew. Most of my tanks are on the 4th and 5th skill, up at the 5th skill. So I also used it on my crew to level up my crew a little bit. So it definitely has a lot of benefit. I also used it to level up to my Type 4 Heavy. I was at tier 8, which might be the Oni, I'm not sure. And I really wanted that Type 4 Heavy. And then over a period of a couple of days, I used personal reserves. I played this all day long Type 4 Heavy. I'm sorry, all day long with the Oni until I got that Type 4 Heavy. It was totally worth it. And I got there a lot faster than I normally would. Okay, so that's a little bit about personal reserves. You can get most of them for free. Like I said, you might want to buy a pack to get started out. Spend like $20 to get something to start with a little bit of mix of everything. But if you play for, let's say, an hour or two every day, you should be able to win lots of personal reserves. Go over here where the missions tab is, and you will see how you can win personal reserves. Or go over here where it says how to earn them, which is right here. Okay, so that's about personal reserves. If you have any questions or comments, please post below.